ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषये भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। क्लास वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते।
मुमुक्षूणां
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय
तत्त्वबोधो
तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते।
As the topic of this text is Tattvabodha, the topic here is Atma. Atma Tattva Bodha, the knowledge of Atma. That is the topic here. And there is a vichara here. We are doing a vichara, an inquiry into what Atma is. Why do we need vichara? Vichara is called tapas. The vichara is called tapas. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, the third Valli is called Bhruguvalli. There you see this word tapas. Bhrugurvai varunihi Varunam Pitaramupasasara Adhigi Bhagavo Brahmeti. So there you see that Bhrigu vai Varunihi. Varunam Pitaram Upasasara. He approaches his father. Bhrigu vai Varunihi. Varunam Pitaram Upasasara. And asking for this knowledge. For asking for this knowledge, then he will advise. Who the father. The father will advise. The question is, Adiki Bhagavo Brahmeti. What is Brahma? Mam Adiki. Please teach me. Then to the son, the father teaches. Annam pranam chakshushrotram manovachamiti tahum hovacha yatho va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayantya visambhishanti tad vijijñāsasva tad brahmeti satapotapyata satapastaptva. After receiving the teaching, saha tapaha atapyata saha tapaha taptva iti. Receiving the teaching, having heard, he inquires into the teaching. First, the father says this Annamaya is Brahma. Then he does tapas, he does vichara. Annamaya is Brahma. Then how can this Annamaya be Brahma? After inquiry, he gets a doubt because this Annamaya is subject to change. It has vikara. Annamayena, Annarasena Bhutva, Annarasena Eva Vriddhim Prapya, Prithivyam Yati Viliyate. That is Annamaya. How can this Annamaya be Atma? A doubt comes. Again he approaches the father. Then father says, Prano Brahmeti Vyajanat. First he said, Annam Brahmeti Vyajanat. Annadhyeva Kalvimani Bhutani Jayante. Father says, then he does tapas. The father says, Tapasa Brahma Vijijñāsasva Tapo Brahmeti Satapo Tapyata Satapastapva. Then after inquiry comes again. Because the son is not satisfied with the answer, and for him, Annamaya cannot be the Atma. So again he comes and asks the father, then he says, Prano Brahmeti Vijanat. Pranamaya. The Pranamaya Kosha is Brahma. Then again he goes back and does the Vichara, the inquiry. Tapo Brahmeti Satapo Tapyata Satapas Tattva iti Saha Tapaha Atapyata. He does tapas. The word Satapo Tapyata Satapas Tattva, every time it occurs, 5 times it occurs. Every time when he approaches the father, asking the doubt, how can the Pranamaya Kosha be Atma? Then the father understands, oh, the son is doing Vichara, inquiry. So therefore, then he will say, Mano Brahmeti Vijanat. Manomaya Kosha is Brahma. Again, he goes back and does tapas. Satapotapyata, Satapastapva. Again he comes back. How can Manomaya Kosha be Atma? Then again he asks the question, then father teaches Vijnanamaya Kosha. Iti, the Pancha Kosha Viveka. The Pancha Kosha Viveka is beautifully presented in Druguvali. There, the word tapas. tapas is used. Tapas means it is vichara, it is inquiry. Without inquiry, how can we understand Atma? So the vichara is involved in gaining knowledge. Since jnanam alone can remove ajnanam, and ajnanam is a cause for samsara, therefore vichara is required. Vichara is inquiry, and that is what the Upanishad. Instead of using the word vichara, it uses the word tapas. Tapas is not sitting in a posture, closing the eyes, and meditation. It is vichara, shastra vichara, shastra patanam, shastra vichara, atma vichara, brahma vichara. And Bhashyakara, Shankara Bhagavad in Viveka Chudamani, he beautifully he says, Chittasya Shuddhaye Karma, Ato Vastupalabdaye. Vastu Siddhi Vicharena, Nakinchit Karma Kotibihi. Karma is only for Chitta Shuddhi, not for gaining the Vastu. Vastu is Atma, not for knowing the Atma. Vastu Siddhi Vicharena, Nakinchit Karma Kotibihi. Vastu Siddhi is this gaining the Vastu, knowing the Vastu. Gaining, when we say Vastu, gaining the Vastu, gaining the Atma means knowing the Atma. It is not gaining the ungained. It is not something new you gain. It is already gained. It is Siddha Vishaya. It is Prapta Vishaya. So, therefore, Prapta Vishayatvat Jnanam. Therefore, Vichara. Without Vastu Vichara, Vastu Siddhihi na bhavati. Karma Kotibihi Siddhihi na bhavati. Even by karma, doing karma in crores, you will not gain. This Vastu Siddhi is not gained. Moksha is not gained. So therefore, the Vichara is important. So Atma Vichara, Brahma Vichara, and that is what we do through the study of Shastra. Shastra Vichara is Atma Vichara. And in this inquiry, we understand what Atma is. We differentiate Atma from Anatma because there is Abhimana with regard to the Anatma. Anatma is taken to be Atma. That Drida Abhimana is there because of Purva Samskara. Janmadi Janma Samskaras are there. Avidya Vasanaya. That Samskara is there. And also in this Janma, from the beginning, having a strong Abhimana with this Sharira Mana Sangata. Therefore, we take this Shariram to be Atma. Therefore, there is Raga, Dvesha, etc. Therefore, Vichara is required to understand, to distinctly understand what Atma is. What Atma is, what Atma is not. So, therefore, here, this Panchakosha Viveka. Panchakosha Viveka. The koshas which are Anatma, over which the Jiva has Abhimana, taking to be Atma. And thus all the Vivahara. And in the Vivahara, he gains Papa Punya, Sukha Dukkha, therefore it is Samsara. Be free from Samsara, one has to know this is Anatma. This is Anatma, that is not my real Swarupam. through different prakriya, we can arrive at Atma. As we saw, this Avastatraya prakriya, that is one prakriya. Panchakosha prakriya, that is another prakriya. Drik, Drishya, Viveka prakriya, another prakriya. Drik, Drishya, another beautiful prakriya. Drik means the seer. Drishya is seen. What is seen? Can Atma be a Drishya? Can object for perception? Atma cannot be an object for perception. It cannot be objectified. Everything can be objectified, but not Atma. This Shariram is objectified. Therefore, it cannot be Atma. It is Drishyatvat. Drishyatvat na Atma. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik Tadrishyam Draktumanasam Vrittadi Vrittaya Sakshi Divrittihi Drishya Drishyadi Vrittaya Sakshi Drikeva Natu Drishyate. Rupam Drishyam, the form is seen. Form means not only the form. You have to bring in all the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all the objects of perception, all the objects which are perceived through the Pancha Jnanendriya, all these are available for objectification. Drishyam. Taking Rupa as an example, Rupam, the form, it is available for your perception. How do you perceive? Through your eyes. Therefore, Lochanam, eyes are the seer, and the form is the seen. The eyes also is seen. The eye is also seen because without backed up by the mind, the eyes cannot function. Eye means this Jnanendriya. The Jnanendriya is also Drishyam. Jnanendriya is also Drishyam. It can be objectified. It is also a Drishyam only, objectified, Anatma only. Available for objectification for the mind. What about the mind? The mind, thoughts are there. Mind is nothing but thoughts. These are available for objectification. The mind, which is nothing but the flow of thoughts, are available for the objectification. For whom? For Sakshi, Atma. So, forms are objectifiable. That by which you perceive forms, that is eyes, they are objectifiable. And the indriyas which cannot function without the mind, and indriyas are objectifiable for the mind. And the mind in which the thoughts occur, the thoughts are objectifiable, the mind is objectifiable. Then the Sakshi Atma, in the presence of which all these thoughts are illuminated, can it be objectified? No. That continues to be a drik only. It is always the seer. It cannot be drishya. So, like that, we do the inquiry to understand that Atma is alupta drik. It is always the seer. It is always the seer. It is not drishyam. So, this is another method. Drik drishya viveka. Drik drishya vichara. Viveka vichara. So, therefore, many prakriyas are there to arrive at Atma. And here we are looking at the prakriya, Panchakosha prakriya, and we have seen Atma is Panchakosha Atitaha. Panchakosha Atitaha. Panchanam api koshanam nishedhe yuktitaha shrutehe tan nishedha vadi sakshi bodharupo vashishyate. Viveka Chudamani Bhashyakara, Shankara Bhagavad says, Panchanam Koshanam Nishede Yuktitaha Shrutehe. Yuktitaha Shrute, Yukti Yukti. That is, this inquiry, the Shruti, that in doing inquiry, with the help of the Shruti, what this Panchakosha, this inquiry into the Panchakosha, it is done with the help of the Shruti. Then negating, dismissing the Panchakosha. What is left out? Finally, that which cannot be negated, that which is unnegatable, that which cannot be dismissed, that is Sakshi, Atma. Yoyam Atma Swayam Jyotihi Panchakosha Vilakshanaha Avastatraya Sakshi Sannirvikaraha Niranjanaha Sadanandaha Savijñeyaha Swatmatvena Vipaschita iti Viveka Chudamani Shankara Bhagavad Pada beautifully says, Yaha Ayam Atma Swayam Jyotihi. That is Panchakosha Vilakshanaha, it is different from Panchakosha. And that is what we are seeing. Atma is Panchakosha Atitaha iti. Therefore, since Atma is not Panchakosha, therefore we have to negate all the kosha. To negate all the kosha, we should know what each kosha is. So that is what the topic of discussion. The discussion is definition of Panchakosha. To dismiss that Panchakosha is not me. Panchakosha is not me. When I say Panchakosha is not me, that Abhimanam we are talking about. Everything being Atma, Panchakosha is Atma. But Atma is not Panchakosha. That equation with regard to everything we need to know. That is, everything is Atma. But Atma is not any particular thing. Confining Atma to any particular thing is wrong. That is, if you confine, that is because of Abhimana. Therefore, the Abhimana is dismissed. So, Panchakosha is not me. When I say that Abhimana with Panchakosha, taking Atma to be only the Panchakosha, confining Atma to this Panchakosha, that is not correct. It is wrong. It is Ajnanam. So, therefore, here, to dismiss the koshas, we should know what kosha. Therefore, only we are seeing the definition of each kosha. Now we will read. Panchakoshaha ke
Panchakoshaha ke
Annamayaha Pranamayo Manomayo
Annamayaha Pranamayo Manomayo
Vijnanamaya Anandamayas-cheti
Vijnanamaya Anandamaya Cheti
Annamayaha Kaha
Annamayaha Kaha
Annarasenaiva Bhutva
Annarasenaiva Bhutva
Annarasenaiva Vriddhim Prapya
Annarasenaiva Vriddhim Praptya
Annarupa Prativyam Yat Viliyate
Annarupa Prithivyaam Yat Viliyate
Tat Annamaya Koshaha Stula Shariram
Tada Annamaya Koshaha Stula Shariram
Pranamaya Kaha
Granamaya Kaha
Pranadhyah Panchavayavaha
Pranadhya Panchavayavaha
Vagadindriya Panchakam Pranamaya Koshaha
Vagadindriya Panchakam Pranamaya Koshaha
Pranamaya Kosha we have seen. Now the next topic is Manomaya. This Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, these three kosha constitute Sukshma Shariram. Annamaya is Stula Shariram. The same three Shariram, when looked upon from the Kosha perspective, divided into 5. Annamaya is Stula Shariram. This three, Annamaya is Stula Shariram, Annamaya Koshaha. This Pranamayaha, Manomayaha, Vijnanamayaha, they constitute Sukma Shariram. So we are inquiring into Sukma Shariram from a different perspective. Now, Manomaya Koshaha, we have to read. Manomaya Kaha.
Manomaya kaha.
Manascha Jnanendriya Panchakam Militva.
Manascha jnanendriya panchakam militva.
Yo Bhavati Samanomaya Koshaha.
यो
Yo bhavati
manomaya
manomaya koshaha.
Now we will see the meaning of this. Manomaya Kaha. What is Manomaya? Manomaya is another kosha. From the name itself, we can infer Manas. Manaha. Manaha is the kosha. Manomaya. Maya, as I told before, it is vikararte, nato prachuryarte. It is the sense of modification. So Manomayaha, that is Manomaya koshaha, that is Manaha, the vikara of the Manaha, the mind, which is koshavat. Koshavat atmanam achadakatvat Manomaya koshaha. Like a kosha, like a cover. As though it covers the Atma. It cannot really cover Atma. How can Atma be covered? Can Atma be covered? Atma cannot be covered. Everything is pervaded by Atma. Everything is because of Atma. Everything everything enjoys the astitvam because of Atma. How can Atma be covered by a kosha? So that is not possible. How can Atma be? How can I be covered? Atma is I. Maya tatkarya deghadi mama nasteva sarvada suprakash ekarupoham agam eva agam avyayah gunatraya vyatitoham brahmadhinam cha sakshakam anantaranda rupoham agam eva agam avyayah iti Acharya says agam avyayah atma na agam anantaha ananda rupaha agam atma avyayah. Anantaha is there is no limit, limitless, and it is Saprakasha, Saprakashaha Ekarupaha, Agam Avyayaha Atma. Therefore, it is since it is Purnaha, it is Anantaha, how can this Atma be, how can I be covered by the Kosha? Therefore, Koshavat Achadakatva, like a Kosha covering Similarly, here, this kosha as though covering. Koshavat. This abhimana, because of abhimana only it is called a kosha. Therefore, eva. So, manomaya kosha, the vikara, the change of the mind is considered to be the kosha, the layer over which the jiva has got abhimana. Therefore, it becomes a kosha as though for atma. And that manomayaha is what? That is the question. Manomayaha kaha. The answer is Manascha Jnanendriya Panchakam Militva. Manomaya Kosha is mind, Jnanendriya Panchakam, along with the Jnanendriya. How many Jnanendriyas? Pancha. So Panchakam is Pancha Jnanendriya. What are they? Shrotra, Tvaka, Chakshu, Rasa, Grana. This Pancha Jnanendriyam, Jnanendriyani, Militva. Pancha Jnanendriyani Militva, that is mind along with the five sense organs of knowledge, perception, is called Manomaya Koshaha. So, mind along with the five organs of knowledge, sense organs of knowledge is called Manomaya Koshaha. That is, when the mind is grouped with five sense organs of knowledge, then it is called Manomaya Koshaha. So, Indriyas and the mind. When we say mind, that Manomaya Koshaha, the Manomaya Koshaha, which includes the mind brings in all the possible, the emotions, desires, worries, anxieties, sankalpa, vikalpa, the remembrance, recollection, doubts, everything part of the mind. Everything is as though a kosha. All the changes happening in the mind, and the mind can perceive the changes. So they come under the Manomaya Koshaha. As we saw, the Pancha Prana, the five prana, along with the Karmendriya, they put together form Pranamaya Koshaha, the previous definition. Pranadhyaha, Pranadhyaha, Pranadhyaha Panchavayavaha, Vagindriya Panchakam, Pranamayaha. Similarly here, Prana along with Karmendriya, Pranadhyaha, along with the Karmendriya, they constitute Pranamaya. Similarly here, the mind along with Jnanendriya is called Manomaya Koshaha. So, the five organs of perception and the mind put together is called Manomaya Koshaha. For Karmendriya to operate, what we need? Energy. Energy is required. It means prana. Prana is required. So, when you feel weak, when you are weak, when you are tired, it means that sufficient prana is not there. Therefore, you will not be able to work. You will not be able to move. You will not be able to speak, or you will not be able to walk. You will not be able to operate your karmendriya because prana, the energy is not there. Therefore, prana pervades the entire the sharira. Prana, it pervades the entire sharira. So, therefore, the pancha prana karmendriya, they constitute pranamaya koshaha. And here, for jnanendriya to function, for karmendriya to function, prana is required. And here, for jnanendriya to function, what is required? Mind is required. Without mind, jnanendriya cannot function. Like without prana, karmendriya cannot operate. Similarly, here, mind is required. Without mind, the indriyas cannot function. Senses cannot do their operation. How do you know what happens in Sushupti Avastha? In Sushupti Avastha, in deep sleep state, mind is not there. Mind is active and it is there in Jagrat Avastha, the waking state, and in the Swapna Avastha, the dream state. In the dream state is only mind is there, nothing else. Only mind is there in the dream. The Swapna Prapancha, only mind is there. In fact, the Swapna Prapancha is nothing but the projection of the mind. What about the existence of mind in Sushupti? In deep sleep state, mind is not there. When mind is not there, what about the sense organs? Can they be there? They also do not function. Mind is not there, how can sense organ function? They also as though not there only. Because they don't function. Mind is not there, sense organs cannot function. The function of the sense organs can be attributed to the backing up of the mind as we know from the Jagrat Avastha and Swapna Avastha. In the Sushupti Avastha, since mind is not there, therefore Indriyas do not function. That is why sometimes you see the person while sleeping, keep the eyes open. Eyes may be open, wide open, but the person is in Sushupti. He will not be able to see the object. So therefore, it's very clear. So even though the person sleep with his eyes open, he cannot see the object. It means the person is in deep sleep state. The Golaka is open, but not the Indriya. Indriya do not function. Eyes open means not that Indriyas are functional. Eyes, nothing but they are the Golaka. They are only the, the external aperture. Behind the eye, the Indriyas are required. And the Indriyas cannot function because mind is not there. Therefore, even though you see the person with his eyes open, and since the mind has gone to sleep, therefore perceive, he cannot perceive anything. That's why even when you bring your hand closer to his eyes, he will not wink. That doesn't happen in the Jagrata Avastha. You bring your finger closer to somebody's eye, the person winks. But that doesn't happen for the person who is sleeping because mind is not there. Therefore, the mind is important for the function of Indriyas. Backed up by the mind only, the Indriyas function. The mind and the senses, in fact, they function hand in hand. Senses do not function without being backed up by the mind. Without senses, the mind also cannot obtain any information from the Bhagya Prapancha, from the external world. From the external world, the sense organs bring in information, bring in data. Sense organs are the faithful reporters of the knowledge of the objects of the external world. When mind is not there, how can they function? It is said nicely in Kathopanishad. Paranjikani vitrinat swayambhuhu parang pashyati nantaratman. This Indriyas are made extrovert. They bring in lot of data because of which the person is distracted. So it means Indriyas, they are the sources of information for the mind. When Indriyas do not function, the mind cannot have any information. Therefore, no data is available to process. It cannot entertain any thoughts also. How can it entertain thoughts? Thoughts are centered around the Indriya Vishaya. When Indriya doesn't function, it cannot have thoughts. So, therefore, mind also cannot entertain any thoughts when Indriyas are not there. Therefore, they are interdependent. They are interdependent. For the functioning of the senses, mind is required. For the mind to entertain any thoughts, sense organs are required. Therefore, militva, jnanendriya panchakam militva, manascha jnanendriya panchakam militva, manomaya koshaha. Mind is meant for thoughts, emotions, and for the mind to entertain thoughts, and therefore the corresponding the emotions, it should have connection with the Bhagya Prapancha. When you look at someone suffering, you have sympathy, you are compassionate, you become compassionate. Or when you look at someone who is not dharmika, adharmika, you get angry. When some certain things happen in life which you are not happy with, you become frustrated and disappointed. So All these are possible only when the Indriyas, they bring in this data, they bring in the information to the mind. So the senses can work. The senses can work only when the mind is available, and the senses provide all the information required to the mind. As it is without any modifying the data. It presents the data as it is. Senses do not have the ability to judge the data. That's why they are faithful reporters. They are faithful, sincere reporters. They report, just report what they perceive. It is a mind which process the data brought in by the sense organs, and they act upon the data, how in the form of entertaining certain thoughts and emotions, etc. And those are expressed, those emotions are expressed physically in the form of frustration, anger, happiness, elation, all these emotions. So that is why we say, seeing the mind, we say the face, seeing the face, we say the face is the index of mind, because when you become happy, your mind is happy because something satisfying has happened. Something satisfying has happened, you are pleased. That can be inferred from your face. That's why we say face is the index of mind. Face is only upalakshana. It is not only your face. In fact, your whole body expresses what the mind thinks. So the emotions are expressed, the emotion of the mind are expressed through the body. Now you can see the connection. The sense organs to the mind and the mind to the body. The expression of the mind to the body. That is why we call it the body language. The body language talks a lot about your this condition, the status of the mind. And the status of the mind depend on the data processed by the mind and the data brought in by the sense organs. So therefore, this mind and the five sense organs is called manomaya koshaha. And this jnanendriya, they bring in information, a lot of information from the Bhagya Prapancha related to what? Related to the Indriya Vishaya, the sense objects. And the sense objects are many, they are different. They are vividani Vishayani. So, corresponding to that, the mind undergoes changes. The mind undergoes change relevant to the perception. Relevant to the perception, the mind undergoes change. Relevant to the data brought in by the Indriyas, the mind undergoes change. Therefore, the Vishayas of the Indriya, they are not same. Therefore, in keeping with the Vishayas, in keeping with the Vishayas, the mind undergoes change. That is why a variety of emotions are exhibited by the mind. Therefore, mind is not the same. It cannot be same. If it is same, the mind cannot think. To think, the mind has to undergo change. Even the very perception in Vedanta, we say the perception, that is the knowing of an object. How does it take place? The mind, through the Indriyas, they pervade the object of perception. They pervade the object of perception, and the object of perception, now when it is illuminated by the Sakshi Chaitanyam, then the knowledge occurs. So, vritti vyapti, palavyapti, two process happen. One is the vritti of the mind covers the object of perception, and it is illuminated by the Sakshi Chaitanyam. Then the knowledge of the object happens. And since the object changes, therefore the knowledge also changes. The knowledge also changes. Therefore, the mind is never the same. because the Vishayas change, therefore the mind also changes, the thoughts changes, the emotion changes. The change is the nature of the mind. Therefore, to make the mind still, to make the mind free from thoughts, it is not possible, and that is not intended. That is what not intended for the mind. The mind cannot be made still, need not be made still. It can be made peaceful, composed. That is a different thing. But you cannot stop the mind from thinking, because the mind is nothing but the flow of thoughts. How can you stop the flow of thoughts? The flow of thoughts can be regulated, but cannot be stopped. So there is regulation. That is why in yoga also, chitta vritti nirodha. Nirodha is not stoppage. Nirodha is regulation. That's why we talk about the dhyanam. We talk about the upasana, dhyanam, meditating on an object, meditating on a devata. It means you think about the particular devata, the attributes of the devata. So your mind is confined only to a particular form, only confined to a particular form, no other forms, no other thoughts other than this, the devata, the upasana devata is there. That is called dhyanam. That is called dhyanam. It is called upasana, dhyanam. Saguna upasana is called Saguna Brahma Upasana, meditating on a particular object, particular devata, Saguna Upasana. There, the regulation of the mind, the regulation of the mind in Upasana, the regulation of the mind is deliberately done by the sadhaka. There is no mano nasha, there is no destruction of the mind. Mind cannot be destroyed. If mind is destroyed, then how can the person, how can this person perceive objects? How can the person act to the perception? No perception, therefore how can the person react? There is no reaction, there is no action, there is no reaction. So we cannot stop them, we cannot stop the mind, we cannot destroy the mind. We can regulate the thoughts of the mind. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. Even Arjuna asked Bhagavan Krishna in the Gita, the mind is chanchalam, what to do? Then Bhagavan Krishna says, Abhyasena tu vairagyena. Abhyasena vairagyena cha. By abhyasa and vairagya, only this mind can be, the chanchalam mind can be regulated. It doesn't advise to destroy the mind. Mind is required for knowing, for knowledge. Otherwise, how knowledge happen? Even the Atma Jnanam, where does it happen? It happens only in the mind. Vritti Jnanam. Yeah, when you say Jnanam only in the mind. Therefore, we need to know how to regulate the mind, how to focus the mind, not to destroy the mind, not to stop the mind. Mind being of the nature of change. How to focus the mind? To focus the mind, we have to limit the interaction of the sense organs. We need to limit the interaction of the sense organs with the sense objects. We need to focus the mind on a single object, like meditating on the Ishta Devata, Saguna Brahma Upasana. Or they say the practice is a Tratakam, putting a dot on a paper and visualizing it, seeing it for a long time, so that your mind is brought in, the scattered mind is brought in, and it is focused on the particular dot. That is a practice. It is a practice to focus the mind. So therefore, you cannot stop the mind from changing. You cannot stop the mind from thinking, but it can be focused. Destruction of mind is not possible, and that is not intended by Shastra. Therefore, Mano Nashaha is not possible. Mano Nashaha or the immobility of the mind is not possible. What is possible then? This chitta ekagrata, focusing the mind. So, and that is what we do in Saguna Brahma Upasana. We focus our mind on our Ishta Devata. When you focus the mind on Ishta Devata, your mind is allowed to move all over the image of the Ishta Devata. You can meditate on any part of the Ishta Devata. You can meditate on the feet. You can meditate on the knee, thigh, hands, any part you can meditate. But it is confined only to that particular form. Particular form only it will think. It will not go out of the form. So this is for focusing the mind. So therefore, the mind has to be focused, mind has to be regulated by focus, by the focusing, by focusing. So mind is a tool. Therefore, one should know how to handle it, not destroy it. Destroying the tool, what is the use? What is the use of destroying the tool? Being a tool should know how to handle it. And here it is called a kosha. Why? Because it is a locus for committing the error. It is a locus where the error is possible, where jiva can do the error. What is the error? Taking the mind, taking the condition of the mind, taking the condition of the mind to be myself, taking the emotion, the thoughts of the mind to be myself. That is a mistake. Therefore, when the mind is agitated, I become agitated. When the mind is worried, when the mind entertains the thought of worry, I become worried. When the mind has not decided, then I become an indecisive person, confused person. So therefore only you say I am confused. My mind is confused. I have not decided. But it is attributed to the Atma, me. Therefore, the possibility of committing the mistake is there. Therefore, koshavat acharakatvat manomaya koshaha. Like a encasement. This manomaya kosha covers the Atma as though. Because of that, the manomaya is taken to be Atma. So, because a mistake is corrected, therefore, it has to be corrected. That correction is what is required. Okay, then this one need to understand. One need not. You don't need to transcend manomaya kosha. You don't need to transcend manomaya kosha if you don't commit a mistake. Because a mistake is committed, therefore it needs to be corrected. That corrections we can call it as transcending. Really speaking, nothing is to be transcended. There's nothing called transcending. Because everything being Atma, what is the transcending? What will you transcend? In meditation also, transcending meditation we say. In meditation, you don't get any unique experience. Meditation, Vedantic meditation, we say it only helps you to appreciate that Atma is myself. I am Atma. That fact is known by Shravana, and that you appreciate the fact by doing Nididhyasana. That is what we call meditation in Vedanta, Nididhyasanam. Nirguna Brahma Upasana. With the eyes closed, it is you. With the eyes open also, it is you. So you, the fact cannot change. That is the fact. It is going to be the same. The fact cannot change. So if we want to transcend Manomaya, it is only by Jnanam. You cannot transcend Manomaya Kosha by not committing mistake. It is, if you want to transcend, it is only by Jnanam. The transcending is understanding that Manomaya also is Atma, but Atma is not Manomaya. Agam Atma is free from everything. So that is possible only by Jnanam, only by understanding. By understanding, I am aware of all the changes happening to the mind. The changes happening to the tool, to the instrument, the mind. But I am not the mind. The tool cannot control me. I have the tool with me. I only can operate the tool, not the tool operating me. Therefore, where is transcending the mind, transcendental meditation, transcending what? You cannot transcend really the mind. So, mind continues to change. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha, that is mind. Mind changes. What about Atma? Atma never undergoes any change. It is avyayam. Avyayaha Atma. The Atma is avyayaha. Therefore, Atma is not the mind. Mind is vyayam. Atma is avyayaha. Manaha vyayam. Atma avyayaha. Therefore, Atma is not the mind. So once we understand this clearly, once we understand first we have to understand this clearly, then it has to be strongly reinforced in the mind. That is why we need meditation, Vedantic meditation. So, therefore, the mind is because of Atma. Mind is not Atma. Mind is not Atma. Mind is Atma. Mind is because of Atma. Mind is Atma. But Atma is not only the mind. Mind is Atma, but Atma is everything. And mind is also one of the things. So, therefore, the change of the mind is not the change of the Atma. Manomaya changes. Its Swarupam, its nature is changing. And the change is available for your perception to the unchanging Atma. So, what changes is Anatma, and the changing are perceived by that which doesn't change is Atma. That is the Viveka. So, Manomaya is not me. All the changes happening to the mind are noticeable. They are available for perception because of Atma. So, Atma doesn't have Vikara, whereas mind cannot be free from Vikara. It is Savikara. Therefore, what is Atma? What is Manaha? What is Atma? Atma is Vikaram. That which is Vikaram, that is Atma, that is Anatma, that is mind. That which doesn't have Vikara, that is Atma. So, yet Vikaravan, tat na Atma, saha na Atma. Yet Vikaravan, saha Atma na. That which is changing, that which undergoes change, that cannot be Atma. And what is that? Yet Vikaravat saha Anatma eva. And the mind being Vikaravat, therefore it is Anatma. Anything that is subject to Vikara, the modification, it cannot be Atma. Then what is that? It is Anatma. Therefore, the mind, along with this Jnanendriya Panchakam, it is Anatma. It is Anatma, that is not me. You cannot confine the Atma only to Manomaya Kosha. Therefore, by Viveka, you dismiss Manomaya Kosha. That is not me. That Manomaya Kosha enjoys the Astitvam, enjoys the existence because of this unchanging, all-pervading Avyaya, Ananta, Atma, which is myself. This is the Viveka. So the Viveka is to correct the mistake with regard to the Atma and with regard to the Indriyas. So therefore, I, the Atma, which is Avyayaha, which is Agam, that is Sakshi Chaitanyam, Agam Atma. It is Anatmanaha Binnaha. It is different from Anatma Vilakshanaha. Agam Sat Chit Ananda Swarupaha Atma. Atma is Chaitanyam. And this Manomaya, Pranamaya, everything is Jada. Everything is Jada. Atma is Chaitanyam, Anatma is Achetanam. Chetanatvam, the Chetanatvam of Anatma is because of Atma. Anatma doesn't have intrinsic Chetanatvam. The Chetanatvam of Anatma is only a borrowed one. It is borrowed from Atma. That is why Atmanaha Sanidhya Matrena. In the presence of Atma only, this Anatma, this Jadam, the Jadam, as though conscious, it behaves as though conscious. It doesn't have intrinsic consciousness. So this has got consciousness, and the consciousness, it is not Swatantriyam, it is Agantukam. It is borrowed. Because of that, it shines. Because of Atma only, this Anatma also shines. Because Anatma shines, that is why the mistake is committed, taking Anatma to be myself. Therefore, only this vichara is required to dismiss that Manomaya Kosha also not me. Therefore, we need to know what is Manomaya Kosha, and that is what this definition is. Then comes the next topic, Vijnanamaya Kosha. That we will see. We will see that in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Thank you, Guruji.
धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद
धन्यवाद, Guruji.